assist in taking questions and a couple of responses from the community.
No problem.
Great. Yeah, so we'll just take a few more minutes to wait for everyone and then we'll start, okay? We'll begin in 2 minutes time. I don't care. I find myself in a melody. I sing for love, I sing for me. I shout it out like a bird set free. I don't care what it is on me. I find myself in a melody. I sing for love, I sing for me. I shout it out like a bird set free. Okay, guys. Let's begin. Great. Okay. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Just want to confirm that everybody's here. Yep. So if you're here, you could send in an emoji or just say hi, and then we can begin.
Hi, Clement. Good morning.
Hi.
Okay.
Morning here in Lagos, Nigeria.
Awesome. Okay. We're just 22 people here. I would really love to know everyone, but I mean, because of time, we have to kick this started as quickly as possible. And hopefully, as we begin to continue this, we'll definitely get to know more about ourselves. And, I'm very quite good with names. So don't be surprised that when we start getting to know ourselves, I'll be calling you by your name. And, um, you know, that's more fun. So today, it's going to be interesting because this is literally I guess one of like the first session I've had in a very long time, and it's interesting because this topic I've always been on my mind to talk about because it's definitely one tool, or I would say something that a whole lot of designers out there use, and I think is also it's also very very good when it comes to like simplifying user experience, trying to create interactive designs for stakeholders, or maybe a client, or maybe just a fun project, basically, right? um, AUX is really is a handy tool, I would say, a handy plugin you use on Figma, and we're going to be sharing quite a lot today. But based on the fact that this is the first session, we will take as much as we can for now. And then we'll eventually kind of like move into our next session, where I think in the next session, we're actually going to be doing like more interaction that is like more of After Effects, and how to create different layouts to interact with themselves. So I'm looking out for that, but let's start from this first, right? So here's our file that we're going to be working with today, which is obviously what I've opened here. And getting started, this is what we're going to be talking about. So this is our first session. Like I said, we're going to be having a brief discussion, introduction, and we're going to talk about like in a very small intro to Figma, because I want to assume that a lot of us here, we have about 23 persons here. A lot of us here actually probably are familiar with Figma, or at least you know what Figma does. For those who may not know it, maybe that would be another session that we would have, but we just have like a basic introduction to Figma, and what you're going to be using Figma for, or what designers actually use Figma for. And next, we're going to be talking about what the heck is AUX, right? A lot of people call it maybe AUX Some call it AEUX. I call it AEUX because it's for me it's just more like I would say like a short form, right? Like an anagram, but many people pronounce it as AUX. And then the next thing we're going to talk about what are JSON files. How does JSON files really kind of like connect with AUX, and how do you use JSON files with After Effects, basically. Next, we're going to be setting up our AUX with After Effects, and then we're going to pick a random design. So on that sixth part, what we're going to do is just get on Dribble or Behance and just get something random. It depends. Maybe we can have a discussion on that. Maybe we could use someone else design from a session that was done maybe during the challenge, Druid's challenge, or anything that you've done in the past. Maybe we could just use that, or subsequently we could use anybody's design on the community right now, and we can use that to kind of like just create, we'll just replicate that design and use it to do the animation or the interaction that we want to work on. The next one is we'll obviously send it over to After Effects where we're going to be doing the interaction. And we're going to talk about like some basics of After Effects, and then lastly we're going to have like a conversations interactions. So the basis of After Effects is obviously something we're going to have to create maybe just a small interaction, because obviously by the time we get from 1 to probably 6 or 7, that would time would have already like gone quite far. So but in our next session we're going to be doing like a more detailed interaction, and we're going to be doing giving more insight on how to create animations, how to prototype some of your design layouts, and create maybe some of those beautiful videos you see some of a lot of these designers do on Behance, and create some fun stuff basically. And then lastly, like I said, conversations and interactions. So great. Um, so who wants to introduce themselves? I think we can have like 5 minutes, just 5 minutes for that. Anybody wants to introduce themselves, and we'll take like maybe three or four persons, or maybe five, and then we can move on to the next stage. So who is here? Quite a couple of people. We have Adebayo, we have Gafar, we have Mao, we have Asogwa,
Hello.
Avi, Shikunon. So yeah,
Hi.
Kwamina. Sure.
Yes. Thank you, Clement. Yeah. My name is Kwame. Now I'm calling. I'm sitting in Ghana at the moment.
Nice.
I'm new to the channel. I've been doing UX UI product design for the past almost 4 years.
Hmm.
Specializing in financial in a financial organization. So specializing in finance. But I've done some side gigs, a number of them, in other areas. Yeah, I think
Awesome.
that sums up. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kwamina. Really nice to have you here. Next, yes, we have Lemaire, Speak Truth. You can go ahead.
Okay, hi. It's one of my emails. Let me speak truth. It's
Okay.
Ayuzuma. So I'm a UX researcher and
Oh.
currently a service DAO
Mhm.
community manager and event organizer. Thank you.
Nice. Nice to have you here. Next, we have Ekene. Really nice to have a lady here. Please, if you're a lady, feel free to introduce yourself. Guys are not the only designers in the world, please. We have, who did I call just now? Ekene. Yeah, you can go ahead. Ekene, can you hear us? Okay, let's go with Nandagopan. Yeah, I guess that's the name.
Hi there. Hi everyone. I'm Nandagopan. I'm from India. I'm uh, I'm actually trying to transition to the stage of UX. I'm I'm actually a systems engineer. So
Yeah,
I've been trying for the past few months to learn the concepts, understand the basics, trying some, and I've been building up my portfolio. And I'm trying to transition to the stage of UX, especially mostly to practice my web stuff because I have a community here in India, and they have been very helpful with this. We have been creating some NFTs and all, and we're also trying to practice how we can improve the UX of Web3 as the apps and all. So
Awesome.
I'm really happy to be here actually.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us, Nan Nanda Gopan. Oh, well, that's a very long name. Can I call you Nan? That's fine.
Yeah, you can call me Nan. It's fine.
Awesome. Great. Awesome. Thank you. Nice to have you here. Yeah, we have smart graphic. That should be Salam. Yeah. Go ahead.
Good morning, Codemathics. I guess you're in the afternoon there or in the night. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
Afternoon,
name's
actually.
my name is Salam. Um, from my origin, I started as a graphic designer. So I think I started as a graphic designer in 2011. So in 2020, I decided to transition into UI UX. But yeah, presently I've been a freelancer, so still seeking for a full-time role, most especially in the Web3 environment and the finance. So yeah, I have great passion for motion. I have great passion
Awesome.
for motions and visuals. So
Awesome. Thank you so much, Salam. You're doing great work, and definitely, I'm sure you'd see something very soon. That's for sure. We are taking two more persons, and I would go for Asogwa Raymond, and then lastly, that would be Avi. Yeah.
Hey guys, Raymond here. Yeah, thank you. You actually pronounced that surname very well.
I told you I was good with names. I'm very good with names.
All right. So yeah, so I'm Raymond by name. I'm a visual designer. I'm a student also at a school here in Cyprus, Europe. And yeah, I actually joined the Discord group just few weeks ago, and I'm looking forward to growing with the community. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Nice to have you, Raymond. Really, really nice. All the way from North Cyprus. Is it North Cyprus or just Cyprus?
Yeah, not Cyprus,
Not
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 yet.
Cyprus. Nice to
Yeah.
have you, man. Nice to have you. So lastly, we'll go with Avi.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Clement.
Morning.
I'm Javi, as you already know. I'm a UX engineer from Lagos, Nigeria. Um, uh, I'm passionate about design and programming, which has led me into developing myself in the product design role with basic knowledge in front-end development and some other skills. So I'm super excited to be here, learning how to implement After Effects with UI design. I can't thank you enough, Mr. Clement, for this. Much appreciated. Can't wait to start creating my with you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining, Avi. All right. Now I'm just going to do a quick introduction of myself and then we can move ahead. So I'm Clement and I work with the team at Web3D. I'm a blockchain product designer and I have experience in front-end engineering as well. Um, I mean, we started Designers DAO basically to focus on, transitioning quite a lot of like Web2 designers into Web3. And I would say in the short period of time, I think it's barely 4 months, we started Designers DAO. I would say I'm really proud of the team and proud of what we've done and being able to at least even get this started and get people to come in for a call like this where we talk about design, talk about like interactions and stuff like that. I think that is worthwhile. So I'm really going to enjoy this session, and I'm hoping you guys are also going to enjoy it because this is like the first time in a long time I've done this. So just a disclaimer: if there is some kind of discrepancies anywhere, please don't hold me for it, right? So yeah, we're going to get started with this. I'm going to share my entire screen now, um, and then key things we're going to be talking about, like I mentioned before, prior to the call. For those that are just joining, I'm sure you'd see something already displayed on my screen, which is this, getting started. And our first session, obviously this is our first session because we're going to have like a second session because I obviously don't think we'll be able to kind of like wrap up everything in one go. This is just what we can take for this first session. And then I think in the next session, which will probably be by next week or maybe 2 weeks from now, we would do more of interactions with After Effects. And but the goal here is to make you guys understand how you can actually export your Figma file or whatever design you create into After Effects, and then create either a video or an interaction that you want to use to kind of showcase to your stakeholders or to clients or maybe your peers, just letting them know how each of the layers that has interactions kind of like play along with each other. So we've passed this. Now we're going into an intro with Figma. So talking about Figma, as you all know, Figma is basically a designing tool, right? It's a designing tool for designers and creators out there, and specifically for product designers. Now, the thing about Figma is that you can actually do quite a lot of things with Figma. I've been amazed in the past couple of months seeing some really cool stuff that a lot of designers in the space are doing with Figma. I mean, I didn't even think that Figma would be able to do those things until I started seeing some really amazing designers doing some magic with it. Some have gone through, designing with designing visual, designing brand, designing pitch decks, designing 3D, designing neon designs and stuff like that. A couple of fun stuff have been done so far with Figma, and it makes me wonder, like, what else can Figma do? Because prior to when they actually started, or when they launched, that was in 2015, there were a couple of like designing tools then. For example, Adobe Suite is one of like the largest or the biggest designing company in the world. But when it comes to some of the features that Figma have kind of like really released in the past couple of months or the past couple of years, you'd realize that, I mean, they have a huge fighting chance when it comes to like a competitive advantage with respect to some of their competitors. For example, like Adobe XD, InVision Studio, Framer, and the rest of it. And I can confidently say that in the world right now, there are a large percentage of people actually using Figma, and it's one of the major standard tool, design standard tool, that most companies out there use if you want to kind of like be best, like really good. So you can actually learn a couple of other designing tools like Adobe XD and Sketch, for example. But the thing about it is that if you want to be ready, like really, really fit for most of the companies out there that are, that are probably, recruiting designers, one of the key things you will realize is that um, the standard tool for designing is definitely Figma. So Figma has a whole lot of things that you can do. I mean, it has like cases where you can create product with it, you can create a brand with it. I mean, the last day I actually kind of like updated my resume with Figma. You can actually create a resume with it. So there's so many things that you can actually do with Figma, and it's just amazing. Um, Next, we'll talk about AEUX, right? So I'm just going to switch down to yeah, this is now AUX is basically a UX motion design tool, right? So for many people out there, I mean, thousands and millions of designers out there, one of the key things that helps them to, speeding up their work or hastening up their work when they're designing anything is they have like plugins and tools on Figma that are already pre-installed. Or when I mean pre-installed, it means that they actually installed it themselves. And what they use those plugins and tools to do is basically just help them to speeding up their work. For example, if you are a fan of Icon Scout, right? One thing that you can actually do is you can download the plugin on Figma. And if you have an account on Icon Scout, so by the way, Icon Scout is obviously an asset library or an asset repository where you can get icons, illustrations, and stuff like that, right? Now, if you have that software, right? Or maybe you have an account with them, you can literally kind of like install the plugin on Figma. And what happens is that you don't necessarily need to leave Figma to go get your icons or illustrations. You can actually use Figma right there. You can use Icon Scout right there in your Figma space. And based on the fact that you have an account, you log into your account, and then you can download icons and illustrations and just use it on the go rather than leaving Figma. these are some of the things that plugins help to do. Generally, plugins are there to actually make work easier for anybody, even for developers, right? For front-end engineers, most times you actually have like plugins or extensions on your Google Chrome or Brave browser. And what happens is that you just click on it, and then it tells you the color of something or the text that is used on a web page, and so many fun stuff that you can actually play around when it comes to plugins. So plugins are just really minimalistic extensions or tools that are designed to speeding up work, right? So they are not usually robust. They don't have so many details and information in there. They just have the important and actual things that you need to actually just help you speed up your work as a designer or a front-end engineer, right? So as a designer, for example, these are one of the key things that you use with plugins, right? So AUX is obviously is also one of that, right? AUX is obviously a plugin, and as you see, it's a UX motion design with the tools you like. So what that means is that if I click on get started right now, so what it tells me basically is AEUX works with After Effects, Sketch, and Figma, right? So what it means is that AUX stands as a middleman between your motion graphics tool and your designing tool. Obviously, both of them are designing tool, but Figma obviously is like more of a product designing tool, and After Effects is more of a motion designing tool, right? Now, AUX stands between these two. It sounds like a middleman between these two. So what happens is that now you've made your UI, and you have an experience in mind. You have something that you want to do to connect this UI you've created to make it look more elegant, to make it look to make it connect with themselves as a layout. AUX stands in the middle, so it brings the UI and it brings the UX together and combines it into one, and invariably just makes up a full product. Now, as you know, for product designers, one thing you understand is if you were designing a product, for example, right? Let's say a mobile app, right? One thing you would definitely think is it goes beyond just creating a user interface, right? Now it goes beyond just creating something that is aesthetically beautiful, right? Something that pleases the eye. If it's definitely a product that you plan that, okay, a couple of users are definitely going to use it, it means that it goes beyond just UI. So it goes to UI, it goes to research, it goes to, of course, ideation, it goes to the user experience, understanding the user need, and then eventually moving into prototyping, and then it goes into usability test. There are a whole bunch of steps that is required if you want to build up a product that you expect thousands or millions of people to actually use. The key thing about creating a user experience is that it helps your user or your stakeholder to understand, okay, what exactly, how am I supposed to leave this place? Or if I log into an application, what's the next step I'm supposed to take, right? Say I log into my application and I'm supposed to sign up, right? Obviously, if I'm supposed to sign up, it means that things I'm expecting to see would be, from a UI perspective, would be an input field where I can probably put in my name or I can put in my email address. And then there's also a CTA button that instantiate or initiate that particular process. So what it means by that is, after I put in my name, the button is a CTA that causes me to give back the information that I have imputed into the system to, or back to the server, or back to the the service side of the app. Now, it is that data that gives you some form of identity that makes you to now say, okay, finally, you can actually access this application, or you have something tied to it. Even for a Web3 application, you don't just go in and start doing transactions. Even if you, like, for example, you want to probably do a transaction that has to do with, like, you want to pay for something, or you want to swap something, or you want to stake something, right? At the end of the day, you can actually do a couple of things, which is imputing an amount, or even using the button to check something. But if you want to do an actual step, or you want to actually do something on the application, eventually you would have to send something to the system. And that would be, in the case, interacting with your wallet, so that maybe your wallet is connected to the app, and then you can now use the money in your wallet to transact in the app. So how does AUX help you to show these things? AUX basically just help you to create an idea. So you have an idea after creating the UI. You have an idea saying, okay, when the user comes into this app for the first time, I want them to put in their email address. I want them to put in their name. and I want this feel, I want this interactions to happen when the user clicks or taps on the button. Now, when it taps on the button, where does the user go to next? So it goes obviously to maybe the dashboard, or it goes to maybe a welcome screen. It depends on what you have in mind, but this is exactly what AUX help you to do. So it helps you to connect the UI and the UX, create some form of introductory information of your mind or of your idea, and then you send it to either the user or the stakeholder for them to understand better what you're designing. um just before I continue, are there any questions on this?
Yeah, not really for me. Actually, I've been always curious on how people are able to uh, create those interactive animation for their UI. So
Mhm.
this is an exciting stuff for me to actually learn how it's done.
Awesome.
So,
All right, cool. Does anybody have any questions on this before we?
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, is there any similarity between this AEUX and Lottie animation?
That's actually a beautiful, that's actually a beautiful question, because the thing about AUX is that, and that's one thing most designers don't even know. Um, Great cool thing about AUX is that you can actually use it to create Lottie files, right? You can use it to create quite a lot of things. So like I said earlier, I told you that Figma can be used for several things. And even myself, I've been really, really surprised about like the vast, vast feature and vast opportunities that one can actually, get when it comes to using Figma. So talking about Lottie files, or, Lotties, for example, you can create a random ball, for example, right? So let's I really don't want to jump too quickly on this, but let's change this one to workspace now. I really don't want to jump too quickly, but ideally, if for example, let's say we want to create like this circle, right? Let's create um equal circles, right? So we have this, we duplicate this, and then let's do this one, right? So we can, let's give this one let's say this color. Let's give this one another color, say this, and let's give this other one something different. Maybe this. I love purple actually. Right now, we have this, right? And let's say you want to kind of like animate this. Obviously, you have interactive components where you can create this into an interactive component in Figma, and then you can do some animations right here on Figma. But obviously, when you're now moving into AUX, it means that you want to go more advanced, so you have like an idea on how to use After Effects. Now, creating Lottie, for example, Lottie has to do with like just basically animating stuff and then exporting them either in video or in SVG, or whichever way you want to export it as, right? Now, the thing about it is that if I have this and I probably want to animate it, say I want to do this balls to be running, to be turning around, and while they're turning around, they're changing their colors like randomly, right? I can actually do this on AUX, and then when I'm done doing it on AUX, basically on After Effects, right? I can send this to Lottie, and then it becomes a Lottie file. So anyone who goes to Lottie files or wants to download a Lottie of something, or balls, different balls just rolling around with different colors, they can actually go there. But AUX helps you to do that. So we're going to get there, and I'll explain more on how we can create stuff and then put it on After Effects. So to answer your question, basically there's some similarity with it, I would say. But the thing is, Lottie files, AUX kind of like helps you to create it, and then you can now upload them into Lottie files or Lottie as Lotties, and then someone else can use it to, for the animations or whatever they want to use it for. Yeah. So I'm going to take one more question. Daniel, one question to go, and we'll continue from here. David Alonge, please go ahead.
Hi, sorry, I wanted to ask, is AEUX the best motion UX motion design tool, or there are other ones as good as it or something?
I wouldn't say it's the best. Oh, it's good, but I wouldn't say it's the best, because I mean there are obviously like a lot of them out there. But for me, that's what I use quite often, because I'm sure you're going to see the beauty of why AUX is actually quite good in this case, because you would just realize that now let me so most times, right, let me put it this way, right, sometimes when you want to do an animation, say in After Effects, most times you probably go and create it in Adobe Illustrator, right? You create it in Adobe Illustrator, and then you transfer the files that you created in Adobe Illustrator into After Effects, and then you will animate it from there. Something pretty similar to what I did here last night. So in this case, what I did here was basically kind of like the initial one that I designed was in Photoshop, but basically what I did was I brought the image here and then replicated it on After Effects and sorry on Adobe Illustrator. And then when I was done creating it, so you can see like each of these parts have like basically have different stuff, right? Now when I was done with each of this, what I did was basically saved it. I created all of them to be in different layers. As you can see here, they're all in different layers. And then when I'm done, I save it, and then I I import the components into After Effects, and then I begin to animate them one by one. Now, you don't necessarily need to do that when you are using AUX on Figma. And that's what it's just amazing about it. For example, I had to recreate this stuff and then save it, right? Then I would export it as a composition into After Effects and animate. But on AUX, it doesn't work that way. I could actually create this as well inside Figma. I can go on Figma and create this same thing that I did here on Adobe Illustrator. I can create it back here on Figma. And then what I would do is that I would use the AUX plugin to transfer all of the layouts and all of the components that I have in here directly to After Effects without having to save it. And it would take it to After Effects exactly as it is, with each of the components just for himself, right? So that's one of the beautiful things about AUX, and I'm going to share more on that as we move. Any more questions? Okay, that's the last
Oh,
question actually.
okay, okay, Code Martin. So what you are trying to say is this is just a simpler tool to export our designs on Figma
Exactly,
to After
exactly,
Effects easily.
exactly, exactly,
Okay.
exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. All right, cool. Um, now we have next is okay. Yeah, I've talked about AUX, but we were discussing about like what exactly it is and how to get started with it, right? Now, this is AUX, like I said. So let's just read this. It's a set of panels for Figma, Sketch, and After Effects. Transfer layers as you need them with the least amount of friction between visual design and motion, right? Now, obviously, because this is an interactive session, it means that we are actually going to be doing some stuff together, right? I mean, that's the only way you can get to use it. Of course, if it is something that fancy you, right? Now, so if you get to this is more like the document, the site where you can get like where to download it, information about the plugin and stuff like that. And for now, AUX obviously works for Sketch and Figma. I don't think they have anything yet for Adobe XD, which is pretty fine too, because I mean a lot of us actually use Figma. So right here, you can see right here you have like download, and then you can see Sketch and Figma, and then you have previous versions. Obviously, we're not going for a previous version, so we'll have to go for the one that that basically sticks, right? Now, let's assume I'm downloading this, right? I already have it on my system, but I'm just going to show you the process, right? Now, I'm going to have this downloaded in my compressed file. And when I click on download, I already have it. So I can open the folder. And now I have it here. Someone has a question? Okay. Adebayo, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, I actually thought this AUX was a plugin on
Yeah.
Figma.
Yes, it is a plugin on Figma, but okay, now let me explain something, right? So most plugins that you are probably familiar with are usually on maybe they are already created in the community, right? So you can go to the community to let's say let's go to so if I come here and I come to plugins, right? I can get in here to check on my installed plugins, and I can see all now. If you see all of these are plugins that I've already installed. Now, most of all these plugins that I installed here, they are plugins that were created by someone in the Figma community, right? But in this case, The one that we're about to download doesn't work that way, right? It works because it works directly from your system. So it means that you have to download it inside your system, and then you trace the path where you kept it for it to work as a plugin on Figma.
Okay, okay, okay. Thanks.
Exactly, yeah. So that's the reason why we're downloading the file right now. Oops, man, I'm not gonna go anywhere if I answer everybody's question. So guys, I'm gonna just pause for now on questions. So while we continue, I'm gonna be stopping for probably 3 minutes, 2 minutes to take questions so that nobody's lost, right? But let me just continue so we don't have too many questions obstructing the flow, right? All right, cool. Now we have this here. So when you download the Figma file, right now, it takes you to, of course, your compressed folder. Now, I already have this, like I said, but key things that you need to do, two things that you actually need for this to work. You need this file. And also, the beautiful thing about it is that it gives you all of the information you need. So you don't necessarily need to go anywhere else, right? You can actually download all the information that you need. For example, this is the first download you need to download, which is this. And then when you want to install it, it also gives you a document of how to install it. And it also gives you a reference to what you need to download for you to install it. Now, the thing is, this thing that you're about to download here, which is ZXP installer, the key thing about this file is that you can literally use it to install all of your After Effects plugin. So let's say you have like there's one called ball moving. Ball moving is usually used for creating some of those stickers. So I'm sure some of you have seen some of those fun stickers on Telegram where you see like different packs of moving stickers and all of that. Most of them are actually created with ball moving. You can actually install them using this particular software. So key things that you need to install for you to get started are these two softwares. One, you first of all download this particular plugin, and then the second one is this installer. Now, I already have this one. So basically just follow through the steps so we don't take much time. Follow through the step. If you're using Mac OS, you can download it here. If you're using Windows, you can download it here. But the key thing is that when you're done with all of this, you don't necessarily need to do anything anymore. So just follow as I continue with this. Now, when I'm done downloading the ZXP installer, right, I can come here and just put ZXP, and now it's already an app which is already downloaded and installed. When I click on it, it's going to pop up this particular windows, and right here you can see right here is showing like 5 on my After Effects. On Animate, I don't have any. Basically, most of the plugins that I have are for After Effects, Photoshop, and for Premiere Pro. Right now, if I click on After Effects, you can see it shows you all of the plugins that I currently have on After Effects. So you can see AEUX, body moving, Lottie files, motion array, and motion bro. Right now, those are some of the files that I have. Sorry about the moving. I have to invite some guys in. So I have 5 of these plugins in there. I'm going to show you most of it, but this is the key one that you're going to be using. And how are you going to do this? First thing, we have already downloaded the AEUX file. Now, this AEUX file has 2 plugin files in there, which is 3 actually, which is After Effects, Figma, and Sketch, right? Now, if you're using Sketch, obviously this is what you'll need. If you're using Figma, which is what we're using right now, this is what you need, as well as After Effects, which is what you're going to be using on After Effects, so that you're going to be seeing the AUX plugin inside After Effects. Now, since we're using Figma, this is the key thing you want to do. Of course, you would extract this file, and I've already extracted this file. Now, when you're done extracting this file, one key thing you need to do is to ensure that you have, now I'm extracting it right here, just randomly. Now I have this, and I have Figma here. Now, I am going to take this Figma folder and copy it, right? Now, I'm going to put it in somewhere, so you can put it anywhere else. The reason why this is done is so that you don't probably mistakenly go and delete it. So maybe you have it on downloads. There's a tendency that a lot of a lot of designers, or I mean, the system is yours. Most times, I actually delete a couple of things that are on my downloads, especially when I don't want to use them anymore, right? So you might eventually go and delete this stuff, and then immediately you delete it, you probably forgot that that particular folder that is dependent, which is pretty much needed for you to install the plugin on Figma. You might delete it, and then you realize that when you get on Figma, you can actually access the plugin anymore. And then you'll be wondering what is going on. You probably think maybe it's Figma that has the error, but meanwhile, you've already deleted the source file. Now, the key thing you want to do is obviously to copy this Figma folder, and then you can put it somewhere else. You can put it on your desktop. You can put it, just ensure you put it on somewhere that you probably have like full access to, and eventually you wouldn't have to delete anything from there. It's very, very important you do this, because like I said, if you delete this file, it means that you'll not be able to access it on Figma, right? So now you copy this entire folder, and you can, let's say I put it on desktop, for example, because I need to show you how to install it. Now I put it on desktop, right? And then it's right here. Now when it's here, the next thing I would do is go back to Figma, right? And I would right click and go to plugins. Now here is development, right? It's already installed on my system, so you can already see AUX. But ideally, if it wasn't, you wouldn't see this here, or you would see it, but when you click on it, you have an error message because it's not in your system, right? Now, but when you want to install it for the first time, you go on development, and then now this is for plugins. So this shows you installed, this shows you development. So you go to development when you have it directly into your system, right? And then you come into manage plugins in development, right? Sorry, you come into development and then come to import plugin from manifest. Now, when you click on this, it pops up your folder, right? Where you need to now trace, you basically need to just trace out where you save that. And like I said, I saved that on in here, right? Now, when I click on desktop and then I click on this one, this is the file that I want to install on Figma. So when I click on this one and then click on open, either click on this and open, or I double click on this one, immediately I do that, this file, this plugin is automatically installed on Figma. So it means that anytime I need it, all I need to do is come to plugins and then come to development, and I would see it here, which is AEUX. And then when I click on it right now, this is what I would see. It's just a very small model, basically, but it does quite a lot of things, right? So now this is what I have. And basically that is all you need to do to get started with it. But that's not all, because you need to still install the AUX plugin inside After Effects. I'll take questions now. Yeah. Does anybody have any question? Okay, cool. I'm guessing everybody got that, man. So moving to the next thing is installing AEUX inside After Effects. Now, just so you know, this is just the only difficult part of it, where you have to install things. But the truth is, immediately you do this, it's just a one-step thing. You don't need to do it anymore. Basically, after you're done with this, it's going to be there for life as long as you're still using this laptop. Because if you're using the system and you install it here, it means this is what you're going to be using. If you're using another system, you have to take the same step, right? Now, the next thing is obviously installing this inside After Effects. Now, remember that we already extracted the file here, which is this one. So I'm just going to go back to where okay, cool. Now we have After Effects Sketch. Now these are the two things we need. We need one for Figma, which we just installed now. And then the next one is for After Effects. Now, After Effects is just very simple. Like I said, the only thing you need to do for After Effects is basically just download that particular file that I mentioned, which is ZXP installer. You come in here, download from Windows, because I'm using Windows. If you're using Mac, you download for Mac. Now, when you've done that, you install it. What you're going to have is going to be something similar to what you're seeing here, right? This is what you're going to have, right? And basically, all I need to do, nothing. I just need to take this file and then move it into this place, right? I don't need to drop it because I already have it on my system. But if you do that, it shows you a preloader just telling you, okay, yeah, you're installing this in blah, blah, blah. And then by the time it's done, you're going to have this particular file in here. And you can also uninstall all of your plugins from here directly. The beautiful thing about this file or this software is that anything that has to do with your plugins, which, as you know, plugins are very, very crucial to making your work faster, right? Everything that has to do with plugins on your After Effects, your Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever it is, you can manage all of it in ZXP installer. So all you need to do is just get the plugin, install it in here. And also, if you want to uninstall them, you can actually uninstall them from here. If you want to export logs, you want to reset your preferences, you can do all of it from here. Now, now that I have this, ideally, you won't have this installed on After Effects unless you do this. But when you do this, if your After Effects was on before, you have to restart it so that you can see it. But me, I don't have to do that because I already have Adobe AUX installed. Now, but when you've installed it and then you start your After Effects again, all you need to do is to come to Windows, and when you come to these extensions, you can see now. If you look at it very well, you will notice that some of the plugins that was here, right? Now you see that you have AUX, body moving, Lottifies, motion array, and motion bro. Now, if you come to Windows and then come to extension, you will see that almost all of them that are in ZXP installer are all here. So you have AUX, body moving, Lottifies, motion array, motion bro, and a couple of other fun stuff. Now, this is what you need. This is the only thing you need for you to start working with AUX. Now, I'm going to obviously close this, and I'm going to start this again so that we can begin designing something that we're going to be animating. Right. Okay, yeah, that's basically it for that. That's basically for installing. Does anybody have questions on this before we move on to actually designing something?
Yeah, sorry, I want to ask, is it possible to install the plugin directly to After Effects without using
You mean
the ZSP program?
definitely, it's definitely possible. But the thing is, the ZXP installer makes it very, very easy and straightforward, right? Now, there are a whole lot of processes that you probably need to do to actually install it. The thing is, um, now, if for example you go on your folder right now, if you come to, let's say, PC, right, and your local drive is actually one of the key places where almost all of your softwares are installed. And when you click on local drive, you will notice that you have something called program files times x 86. It depends on where your files is supposed to be located. Now, you would have to download this plugin, that's the raw file of that plugin, and then figure out exactly where your folder is. That bunch, I mean, in most cases you can have like bunch of several softwares just flying around. So it would require you to check for that particular software. And if you get it wrong, you definitely either not see it, or that particular plugin you are adding to that folder might affect or corrupt something on another software that you're using. So you have to be very careful on knowing exactly what folder you need to drop it, and what folder you shouldn't drop it. So if you want to do this manually, you have to get that important file, and then come to program files, and then locate that particular folder where it is, and then you can now you can now drop it on that folder. Now, when you drop it, for example, let's say I go on program files and I find After Effects is not here, so probably it will be on this one. If I come here, I can see Adobe, right? So if I click on Adobe Creative Cloud, now I just have to, you can see, I have to find out where exactly that file is before I can drop it. I can't just randomly drop it. Okay, now, so this is it. Now, these are folders. Now, these are folders for After Effects, folders for Animate and stuff like that. So when I locate that folder, I also have to figure out where exactly do I need to drop it. Now, when I find it, I'll drop it in that folder, and then when I restart my After Effects and come back to this, obviously I would come to my Windows and then come to extension. I will see here. But ZXP installer makes all of this so easy. So if you have just this file, it helps you to manage all of your plugins on all of your Adobe suites. So it basically just gives you a repo, I would say, a repo of managing your all of your plugins. So if I want to install it for After Effects, all I need to do is come in here and put it right here, and then I will come to my Windows and it's there, right? But if I don't want to do it this way, then I have to do it manually.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you. That is clear. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Zama, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I noticed mine is saying extension manager in field.
Is
What
that
the
your
heck?
ZXP installer right now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. So Uzoma, we can both do that. Maybe if you're having challenges with that, I can definitely look into it, and both of us can do that maybe after this call. And
Okay, okay.
maybe for those who probably have that issue, we can also maybe in one of our sessions we'll just show how we're able to solve that, and everybody understands the error, so that we can save a lot of time from here. But basically, these are the key steps you need to take for you to get your AUX started on both your After Effects as well as Figma. And then the next stage is to, what exactly do I want to design, or what exactly do I want to create an interaction on? All right. So does anybody have any more question? Okay, cool. All right, Vic. Yes, you can go ahead.
Yeah. So sorry for joining this late. I don't know. Can you just quickly do briefly just a summary? Download the Adobe Illustrator, download the
Mm-hmm.
plugin, install it. Some of us are just joining in now. Just a brief summary of what
Whoa.
just said. Just is, yeah.
Okay. So the
Not
thing is,
not to go buy it again. Just tell us, okay, download the software, download this
mm-hmm.
plugin, install it,
Okay.
so that
All
we
right.
can,
Cool.
yeah, follow
All right.
you.
Cool. 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 All right, so these are the key things that you need to do actually, right? Let me just go back to Figma. So here are the key steps we need to take, right? First of all, um, setting up AUX with After Effects, and um, setting up AUX in setting up AUX in Figma, and then setting up AUX in After Effects. So one thing you need to obviously download is come to um, download AUX. So all of the things that you need to actually get started with AUX is on the AUX platform. So I'm going to send you the guys. I'm going to send you guys the link for this. And what you need to do when you come here, it tells you get started, which is obviously this place. Now you read about AUX, understand what it is for, and then here for download, for all of the things that you need to download, it's all here. And then for all the things you need to install, it's all here. So downloading, obviously, if you're using Sketch, you can download it. You have all of it inside a folder. So you have the file for Sketch and the file for Figma inside, and also the file for After Effects inside one folder. So when you click on this download, you get the folder, the zip folder, you extract it, and then you follow the step of um, taking or copying that Figma folder into another folder that you don't randomly delete. So it could be your desktop folder, or your document folder, whichever one, as long as you don't delete it often, right? And then when you're done with that, the next thing is to go to Figma, basically to install it, right? I will share more details on this, but these are the key things you need to download. This one, as well as installing this one. So you need to also download ZXP installer. When you click on this one, it takes you to this page where you can download either for Mac OS or for Windows. When you're done downloading it, you install it, and then what you would see, or what you have, would be this software right here. And it is basically used to manage any of your design plugins for After Effects or your Adobe Suite, whatever, right? So when you're done downloading and installing this particular one, the next thing that you need to do would be to come into that folder which you've extracted, which is this one. Now, this was the folder you downloaded that had both your Figma and your Sketch, right? Now, you also have your After Effects file in here as well. So when you click on this one, you see aux.zxp. Now, all you need to do is basically take this aux.zxp and drop it in this particular software that you just downloaded, which is ZXP installer. Immediately you do that, you automatically have that file, or that plugin in After Effects. But if you already have your After Effects turned on before, it means that you need to restart it. So you need to stop it, like close it and then reopen it before you can see it. If not, you won't see it. All right. And eventually, when you do that, when you come to your After Effects, you come to Windows, come to extensions, you can now see your AEUX here. When I tap on it, obviously, this is where you now see it. This is it here. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah. You say you're going to drop the links for us, so thank you.
Yeah, sure. I'll share that. I'll share that in the community much later. All right, cool. That's basically it for installation. What's our next agenda? Time is 4:05. Okay, so now we've been able to do a brief introduction of Figma. We know exactly what AUX does now. What are JSON files? Now, I haven't talked about JSON files, but in simple terms, JSON files are basically simple bunch of codes that are, that the machine can actually understand. Something like an After Effects can understand it. Now, if you notice, almost all of this layout you see here, they're a bunch of codes, right? All of this, they're all bunch of codes. Even if you come to inspect, you can see that. I mean, they are all, some of them are here. These are CSS, right? But imagine all of these codes changed into objects, right? Now, JSONs are full of objects. If you are familiar with like programming terms, you understand what I'm talking about. But JSON just means, in simple term, it means simple codes that are written for the likes of an After Effects to understand. So when I'm sending something like this to After Effects, it means that After Effects is recognizing that this is a layout because it is going to After Effects as a JSON file. And that is how some of the Lottie files you see, maybe some of the Lotties you see on Lottie files, they are all mostly JSON files. And they are usually the ones that are animated. So if you see like an animated version of a Lottie in Lottie files and you download it, most times when you're working with the engineering team, one of the key things they ask for is that you should send them the JSON file of that animation. When you send them the JSON file of that animation, it means that you're sending them a bunch of object-oriented codes to them, but that has both the color, the typography, the motion, and all of it in that code. But that is exactly what they need for them to have a replica of what you've designed inside what they're implementing. So that's just a simple idea of how JSON files work. Then we've also set up AUX with After Effects. Now let's pick a random design that we're going to just quickly do, just to give you guys an idea of what I'm talking about, because you may not understand. Let me just show you guys how powerful AUX is. Now I'm going to send this particular file right here, and I'm going to send it to After Effects. Now, all I need to do is tap on this particular place here, which is like the hem of his garment, I would say, right? I'll just tap on this, and right here on this plugin, I would come here and you will see actions. So you see send selection to AE, which is send selection to After Effects, right? And you will see option export reference image. Now this is going to be ticked if, for example, you have like images and a couple of stuff. I'm going to talk more in depth on this maybe in our next session, because there are some things that you still also need to look at when you are exporting your files from Figma down to After Effects. Now, this one says rasterize layer. So basically it's saying convert this entire layer into a more like a pixel or something. So like a picture, right? So if I click on rasterize, it means that all of these designs that I have will no longer be editable. They will probably just be a picture, right? They won't be able to move. All of them will be one, right? Now, let me just show you a quick magic. So if I tap on this and then I click on send selection to After Effects. Now you can see that it's loading. Now it gives me an information 5 layers sent to After Effects. Now I'm going to go back to my After Effects right here, and here it is. Exactly as it is, right?
Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly as it is. So you can see how powerful this tool is. It's powerful because now I don't necessarily need to save each of this. For example, like I mentioned, when I went to Adobe Illustrator, I had to literally convert each of these ones into layers. So this is layer 1, layer 2, layer 3. At some point I have to even name them one by one, just to ensure that, okay, well, I know exactly which one is which, right? But I don't need to do this, right? All I need to do, if for example, I want to get things much more better, I could say, okay, fine, for every layout that I want to animate, let me name them right from my Figma. I guess this is going to make a lot of designers actually even discipline when it comes to like giving like a naming convention to their designs, right? So for example, if I want to have a different layout where all of the layouts, I want to know exactly what I am animating in After Effects, because sometimes if you send them to After Effects, everything will just become so jumbled up, and then at the end of the day you're not even sure what exactly you have to kind of like carefully select which one you want to animate. Meanwhile, with naming convention, with a proper naming convention, you can literally save yourself the whole trouble, especially when you want to animate like a whole lot of layout. You can save yourself the trouble by giving each of them a name, and then when it exports down to After Effects, you have the name, attached to each other, so you know exactly. For example, I can say if I want to animate this, it means that I need to name this one to be getting started, which I have here. If I want to animate just this one, I obviously need to have it as first session, right? Or I can call it first session text. I can call this one get started text. And then if I want to animate this component here, I can say list. Maybe I can say a list, right? But the thing is, I can't animate this one like this because all of it are in one particular text. So for me to animate it, if I want to animate it like one by one, it means I have to make each of these ones a layout like separately on their own, right? But just to give you an idea, this is what you get. So you can see how very quickly, how fast it was for you to export each of those files into After Effects. And then the next thing would be to start animating them or creating layout out of this. But this is just like, this is not really the fun thing. Let's actually create something for us to know how beautiful this can work. So talking about like the next step, which is let's pick a random design. So let's go to Dribble, for example. Um, let's check out a couple of designs. Or obviously, if you have like a link to your maybe your own personal design and you want us to probably maybe use it, feel free to share it. I'm happy to, obviously in our next sessions, I'm happy to kind of like use some of those your designs. We'll probably do a redesign of them, a simple redesign of them, and then we can do some animations and play around things from there. But since we have Dribble, we can play around with Dribble. So let's check out a couple of stuff. I think I'm seeing one here, so I'm just going to open it in one. I can see another one here. These are all apps. So I'm looking for something that looks more like, that has maybe like a CTA button and all of that. There's one here. Also, I'm trying to also like avoid anyone that have too many images, because that is something I have to like share with you guys on the some challenges you might face when you're exporting designs with image to After Effects. AUX have some stuff, because, and it's understandable, because for images you literally need to have them. If you have used After Effects before, you need to have like a repo of all of your assets that you're using to animate on After Effects for them to work well, right? So if you have like an image inside your Figma file, for example, and then you export it into After Effects will not recognize that image, because it is not, you are not telling him, or you're not telling After Effects there is a path to that image. So it means that when it gets to After Effects, it will not show, right? So you need to create a folder that can connect that particular image to that design before After Effects can pick it up. But if you just send it right from Figma, it's taking it from Figma. It's not actually taking it directly from your system. But that's something that we can talk about like in another session. So let's yeah, I've seen two so far. Um yeah, I think someone raised their hand while I'm looking for. Roshan, please go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. I don't know. The text here is somehow tiny. I don't know if it's just on my side.
Oh, okay. Which of the text is tiny?
Your
Like every,
window, your window, your shared window screen.
yeah, I guess it's because of
Mm.
it's my screen. Let's see. See. Let's see. This is not going to be fun when I'm animating things. Let's try this one. Oh boy. Changes. Ah, I'm trying to see if there's go to Figma. No, it's still the same thing. Okay. I think I have something. Keep changes. Let's see. 150. 75. 200. Okay. How about this?
You see the same thing,
Is
but
this
maybe
like
I'll just watch the recorded video. I think it will
okay?
the page will be sharper. Like,
Okay. But if you're
Yeah.
using your phone though, obviously it's gonna be looking small, really.
no, I'm using PC.
Okay, so I actually just had to reduce the size to like regular 1920 PC so that everything can be zoomed out for you, but I'm not
Yeah,
sure if it's
I'll
working on your
watch the
one.
recorded video. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, cool. Let me just take this. I'm actually used to
Uh,
used to
hello,
doing that.
hello, Clement.
Yeah.
Yeah, concerning the imagery,
Hmm.
importing an imagery from Figma to After Effects, does it include illustrations and icons?
Okay, when you say imagery, like okay, so for example, if I want to
So,
import this one to After Effects.
no, no, in case there was an image, right? You said if there was an image, After Effects will recognize.
Okay, I'm going to show you something.
Okay.
Let me just quickly show you. It's a good question because it's really important you guys know this. So the thing about After Effects is, or even any motion designing tool, Premiere Pro, right? How they work is that, and that's the reason why if you know about After Effects or any motion designing tool, whenever you are done with producing maybe a movie or an animation, right? One of the key things you do is you kind of like you combine all of your dependencies. So dependencies are what are the files that you use in creating that motion graphics or that video, right? So it means it could be images, it could be images, it could be illustrations, it depends on whatever it is that you use. Dependencies will be that you are combining all of them at once and putting them in one folder such that when you send that folder to someone else, all the person needs to do is just open the After Effects file, and then After Effects recognizes all of the dependencies in that folder for it to show again in another system. Now, for when you're not talking about that in Figma, right, it is a bit tricky because Figma, when you were designing on Figma, obviously I mean, there are cases, let me go, if I go to my browser, for example, and let's say I copy this, for example, now I copy this image. I can just come to Figma here and drop it. It's going to be there. You see that? But that doesn't mean that this particular image is in my system. It's recorded, is in Figma server, but it is not in my system. It is not, my system has not recognized that there is an image that was dropped inside Figma. I'm only seeing it because Figma allows it, right? And I can use it to do my design. Now, if I say
Okay.
if I import this thing now, let's say I put in, okay, let me just reduce the size and put it among this particular frame, right? If I
Yeah.
import this frame,
I
let me
think you've
get back.
answered the question though.
Awesome. So if I import this, for example, let me show you something. If I import it back to Figma, right? Now it's even taking time because obviously because of this image. But by the time it's done, when it gets to Figma, oh sorry, to After Effects, this is going to be showing different colors, those rainbow colors, basically just letting you know that a file is missing. So it is now left for me to find a folder that I can put this image and then I will connect it back to After Effects for it to recognize it. Yeah, so you can see it. It's missing it.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Now, okay. Um, okay, I like this. Let's see. Hmm. Let's copy this and delete this one. Workspace. Let's just put it here. Like this one, right? It has a button, and what we can do here is we can create these two applications. That's the faces, and we would export it. So we might not be able to. We can just do the design and export it. I don't know if there will be time to do a small animation because that's another version. But let's see what we can do with the next couple of minutes that we have. Ideally, this class is supposed to be a 1 hour 30 minutes session. We are currently having just 10 minutes more, but let's see what we can do with that. So now let's just quickly do this, right? So obviously this is an iPhone 13 or iPhone 12 or whichever. So let's just go to the frame, choose, find out what frame to use, design. Let's use iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now we have this, right? Now let's assume this is the first frame we want to work with, right? So obviously I create a button and this. Let's start with a text. Can create back. So we're using DM sounds here. Let's put this to be, let's make it 16, right? And make this layout. Let's make it a button. So let's give it a color, a background color of this. And then let's increase the horizontal padding. Let's try 20 with 30. Guys, please just follow me on this. You don't need to do anything. I just want us to quickly design this stuff and get started on a couple of stuff here. Give this one a padding. Let's make it probably 16. And then let's have it here. Let's make this one 32. Okay, we have that. And obviously we have new expenses here. So I'm just going to click this, just going to copy this one, put it here, and call this expenses. Okay, cool. Now let's have this one here. We can create a small, let's just quickly do this. Right, and give this stroke. Let's give it to. Just trying to pick, I'm trying to make this as identical as possible. Reduce this a bit. Let's add it to this. Obviously centralize this, and this is a bit too big. So this to yeah, this too. Okay, we have that. Nothing too big, nothing too fancy. We can put this two as layout and put it in the middle, right? Next, we want to create, let's create this card. I'm just going to copy this again to have it here, make it as amount. Then next thing we want to do is create a card similar to this. You can use this one. Okay. Now I'm just now this is obviously having a radius of probably like 32. Let's try 32 there again as well. And give it a color. This one, perfect. And we can put this one as auto layout as well. Let's make this 16, or let's make this. All right, so we have that. And next, I just take this one again and bring this one right here. So 16 as well is fine. Reduce this to somewhere here, change the color to this guy, and Take this one here, bring it to the front, and here it says $100 recommended for you, right? Um, let's reduce this line height a bit. Actually, convert this into layout, and it also have like a circle money in there, so we can just circle there. Let's give this one. Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yes,
can
we
hear
can.
you.
Yes, I can.
Yes.
Okay, cool. We'll have this one, change it to white, and put it in here. Obviously this is too much. Put. So I'm trying out this different stuff just to ensure we get that. Oh, we could actually just make it space between, so everything is adjustable. Convert this to into auto layout as well. Okay, so yeah, this is good. I think the radius here is actually too much, really. So let's make this. Cool. Let's just have this right here. Great. All right, cool. Next thing, we want to create this guy here, right? So just this one here, and something I'm noticing about this is spacing. Give this first, yeah, and here give it the same color. Then we have $100. $100. Oh, that's art. See here, obviously this is white. Okay, so I think we can bump this one to probably 100. Oops, that's too big. Can use too big. Okay, let's work with 50. Let me change this to layout so that we can create. Uh, okay. This a bit. So, guys, please, I hope you understand what I'm doing right here.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay. Key thing I want to do here. Let me bring this out first. Let's take this one here. Okay. Okay, this is 16. Let's do this one 16. This is also 16. Actually, this one is right here. And now this is one part that might be tricky. So I think for us to just save time, let's do this. Just over here. And so we can have, just want to create 3 of this. Sorry, like that. Lastly, that combine this together. Let's have something like this, something pretty straightforward. Lastly, we have a button, right? Pick this one, create that button there. And next. Okay, we can make this one bold. Yeah, this works. Okay, and this one here. Okay. One key thing here is this expense. So let's just create a quick cursor right here. Then expenses. Yeah, to let's put it this. Expenses name. T. And this medium. Okay. Um, guys, so we have a very quick application. Sorry about this. I had to quickly do this one. So this is what we have for now, and the goal here is just to ensure we get to understand how this animation or interaction works and what we can do with the limited time we have right now. Okay. Okay, so I think we're good. Is there anything I'm missing somewhere? Do you think we can work with this?
Yeah, I think it's all good. We
Yeah.
can work with.
Awesome. Now we have this. Now we're supposed to have like this one as well, but we need something that we can show, but maybe that will be in our next class. So right here, let's just work with this one. Now, the beautiful thing about this, I tried as much as possible to ensure we don't have like images and all of that because that would take us a step back. So to do this, like I said, all we need to do, tap on this. So the funny thing is that it doesn't have to always be this one that you need to like tap before it will work on After Effects. If you want just this one, actually, you can just take only this one. If you just want this one, it depends on what you want. But in this case, we want this entire file. So now I have that there. Let me go check my After Effects. That's okay. It's free. come here, and then the next thing, I come to this point and send to After Effects. Wait a few minutes, 27 layers, send to After Effects. I get to After Effects, and voila, it's right here, just as it should be. Now, I know you might ask some questions. Okay, what's going on with the text? Why is everything still just now? Let me explain that. So if you notice while we're working on this, if you check this test, you notice that it has like some kernel issue here, like the top and bottom have some spaces. Same thing with this one. And that's one of the reasons why I actually changed this to outline. I outlined all of these ones because I didn't want to have that challenge. I purposely left it so that I can show you guys that, hey, when you see something like this, don't fret. It's because of this particular one. And what is because of this height you've seen here. And After Effects just goes straight to the point of like, hey, I only need the text as it is, right? I'm going to take it when it comes here. The text is going to be conformed to exactly how I see it, right? So you want to try as much as possible to avoid having some of all these things as much as possible. Maybe convert each of all this. If you notice that there's so much space from the top and bottom, one thing you should do is try and really either change them to outline, or you basically just avoid any stuff that has to do with this kernel issue. Yeah, someone have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So this basically means that After Effects doesn't take into account our auto layouts, right?
Actually, it does. So it takes into account auto layout, but in the form of like components, right? So the thing is, it will take it exactly as they are in the auto layout. Like in this case, this one is an auto layout. Here's an auto layout. You can see that all of that, it doesn't really change so much when you come to After Effects. You can see all of them, they are still here, right? Now, but the challenge where you begin to see like some movement in the text is because if you, for example, if I tap on this one, right, on the button, which is this next step, you can see that After Effects is taking it as a single text without the top and bottom having any space. And because of that, that's the way it exported it from Figma, it's making it to get displaced a bit, which is the reason why you are having like, okay, this button is not aligned on the same place where it's supposed to be. And reason why I'm saying that, if you need to do that to ensure that everything comes in as it is, I had to leave some of all these like this. But if you need to ensure that some of all of them come, like the components you are sending to After Effects come as it is, ensure that your text have this, all this stuff that you see, like the top and the bottom having this space. Remove all of this so you can convert them to outline. Like in this case, if I come here, I'll put this as outline stroke, right? Obviously that changes the button, but you can just work on that here. Same thing goes with this one. Change to outline stroke, right? So you have it there. Which other one again? You have this text. This text is actually okay because you can see it's balanced. And then lastly, you have this one. Just going to change this one to this one and just bump this up a little bit. Now, if I send this one over, I send this one, let me see. This is still having the same issue. Change this one here. And then okay. So let me give this one, let me make this one 6 space. And okay. Okay, cool. Now if I change this one now with all these things I've changed so far, this button is still looking weird. Let me put this one somewhere around this level, right? Now if I change this one and send it over to After Effects, let me undo this. If I change this and move it to After Effects, you can see it will come out better than the initial one, which is now this one. Now you can see that the button is all good. This one is all good. This one is also perfect, and a couple of stuff. So, but the goal here is ensuring that your text is properly done, right? Ensuring that you don't have kernel issue with your text, and some of the things that what you are transferring from Figma to After Effects has all of them settled first before it comes into After Effects. Okay, so guys, I think this is where I'll take questions, and then In our next class, we would definitely do some animations on this. Although if you have time, definitely we can go in, but I don't want to I don't want to take so much of your time right now. So bring in your questions. What do you have that is probably challenging for you here, and then let's work towards clearing that out.
So can I ask, please?
Yes, please go ahead.
All right. So I want to ask, on the Figma file, you actually grouped each of those elements, like
Mm-hmm.
somewhere combined as auto layout. So I want to ask, on the After Effects files,
Mm-hmm.
how are they grouped? Are they grouped into pre-compositions or
Oh,
as?
no, 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 no. Oh, good question. Actually, not really. They are not grouped into composition. It depends on which one you are talking about. Something like this, right? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you. Yes,
You're talking about something like this, right? Not
yes,
like, yeah, okay, so, okay, fine. Now you can actually, when you see those groups right here, you can see that if I come here, all right, cool. Now, if I come here, this is how I can identify each of them. Like I said, one of the key things you want to be doing is definitely creating like a naming convention, right, for all of your files, right? But one way to identify them, you just kind of like you can blind them out and check them out. But what you see here now, you can see that this is a composition itself, right? This frame 7 is a composition, and when you click on it, it has compositions inside until it gets to the file itself. So yeah, your question about them, that's a group being a composition, is definitely correct, because all of them, for any groups that come from Figma down to After Effects, it makes it a composition, and then you can now access each of the layouts inside that composition when you click on them, and that's how basically you kind of animate them eventually.
that's nice actually.
Yeah. I think, yeah, Vic Chukuka, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying since I don't know if the whole class agrees, but since we've already moved it to After Effects, you can just go ahead with the interaction.
Yeah.
So,
So the I think I can see like a couple of people have jumped out, and that is understandable because the next step is going to take quite a whole lot of time. So unless everyone here agrees that we should go ahead and start doing animation, definitely, I'm happy to.
Yeah, I'm okay, but it's just about you. I don't know if you have other stuff you want to.
No, I mean I'm right here waiting for you guys. It's if you're ready to go on the animation side, definitely I'm keen to join in.
Yeah, I'm up
So
for it.
if you guys are up for it, we have 22 persons. If you're up for it, just say hi. Oh man, I can see some questions here. Could you possibly? Oh, okay. Is the same here? The text are small. Oh, wow. Okay, so guys, if you are ready, if you want us to go to the animation side of things, please definitely share, say hi, something. Okay, so we
I
have
what do I have
we have
to do?
Folashewa, we have Vic, Sogwa. We have just 4 persons out of 22 persons right here.
Hi. Plus, I have a question as well.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not quite sure if I saw the text well from my end, but I think the text was kind of pixelated when you open the pre-composition. That's like my first question. Do the text pixelate? And I also want to confirm if it is editable in After Effects if I don't convert into outline. And lastly, are the files synced? If I change something in After Effects in Figma, does it update in
Mhm.
After Effects? Those are just what I want to confirm.
So, oh no, 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 no. So if you change anything on After Effects, it's not an Adobe suite, AUX or even Figma itself. So it's actually not even, it's not supposed to be possible to actually even bring in something that is in a competitor's brand to another brand. So having a plugin that enables you to kind of like bring something from Figma all the way to After Effects, it's almost
I
impossible.
feel you.
But exactly, it's almost impossible. The truth is, Adobe Suite have worked so hard to ensure that none of their software is threatened by maybe like a competitor, right? And things like this are what. So ideally, where you get some of all these benefits is when you have like a paid version of Adobe Suite, right? So if, for example, I'm working on After Effects, right? And I made changes to something on Illustrator. If I'm using the same file on Photoshop and I made changes here on Illustrator, it's going to also change in Photoshop automatically. Same thing with Adobe XD, right? That's how all of them kind of like work together. But then if you do, Figma is a different brand entirely, so it's a different server too, right? So in most cases, you can never ever get that kind of feature where, okay, now maybe you just notice that, okay, this button should be pink and you want it, you've already started animating in After Effects. It means that you actually can't do that with AUX. You can't make the changes here and then it auto populates on After Effects. It won't work that way. You have to make the changes, or probably you don't have to come in here anymore. All you need to do is just basically work on things from your After Effects. The main goal is that AUX have been able to give you a skeleton to work with. Now, in most cases, when I want to even do this stuff, because some of this text comes, sometimes it depends on the text that you're using. In most times, it comes in as an exported file. Sometimes it comes in as the text, but in most cases, it comes as an exported file. So it means that this stuff is not it might not be you can't actually edit it from After Effects. So to make it come out much more cleaner, what I do is basically just change this to a normal text inside After Effects. So I can put expenses instead of using the one that came with Figma. I can actually create another text and put it as expenses, and then I would use it to do my animations or interactions. That's one way to look at it, to actually bring out the clear version of what you are designing.
Also, thank you.
Great. All right, cool. Anyone else?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
All right, so my question is regarding the AUX plugin because I feel like After Effects is like a paid software. Like we know we have like cracked version online. I was
Yeah,
wondering if it will be able to like work with it.
it will work with it. The thing is, so I'm not sure if I'm supposed to be saying this on a live call, but definitely it will work with it. Actually, I'm using a paid version. I've been using a paid version of Adobe Suite for like years now, but I know very well because I've used AUX since I've been using AUX since 2016, 2017, 2018, right? But then with the cracked version, you can actually still use it, and that's one of the key reasons why ZKP installer is also one really good beneficial software you can use, because you can actually install some plugins that you need to use on your After, whether it is cracked, whether it is paid. You can actually install all of the softwares in these plugins inside it and use it as on the go.
All right,
So you don't
thanks.
so you don't need to worry about like if it's cracked or paid. You can still use it there.
All right, thanks.
Welcome. Okay. All right, guys. Let's go to the animation side. I'm going to try as much as possible to at least share something today. Now, let's animate something, right? So this is going to be fun. First of all, I am going to change this text. I am definitely going to change it because first of all, it is I changed it to outline for me to get a better experience or a better UI. When I'm animating this, I definitely need something that is raw directly from um, After Effects itself. So all I need to do, Control T, and it takes me to my text version, and then I can just put expenses name here. Expenses name. Oh, am I seeing that? Let me change to this. Okay. Clutch. So I use DM Sans. So I'm still going to use the same thing here. Now, DM Sans, was it DM Sans bold? Let me go back to what did I use here? DM Sans medium. Okay, so I use DM Sans medium, and I'm going to change this. I used 45 pixel here. So 5 and to bring this here. Okay, let me bump this up a bit. So I can either use the pixel or I could just press S to scale it. Sometimes I prefer using this actually. I could just press S and scale it to this point and have it somewhere here. So it's going to be in the middle of that stroke, which is this one, and the text. So I can have it there. Okay, expense. I was wondering why this thing was not expense name and 45 pixel small. So okay, okay, that's because I already scaled it. So I'm going to put this one back to 100. Wait, so we'll have this E. Now, so I'm just using some shortcuts, so short keys. This is actually expenses name. Awesome. So it's 45 pixel and back to 100 percent and back to V. Now V is obviously the moving tool, your cursor. You can use it to move your stuff. So I have this one here, and I'll just put it there. Now, what was the so I use this hex color, which is D7. I'll just copy that, come right here, and change this to this 7. Okay. Now, when I'm done creating that text, the next thing I want to do is to just delete the first one that's here because it's now is a layer already, right? So I'll come here and then I would delete it, and it just leaves me with this, just this one. Now, there's some stuff in here that may not be needed, so you just check to find out which. So you can test them by just turning it off and on. So you could just clean off all those redundant files from there. So I take them. So now we have this, right? Guys, you can see that, right?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Awesome. Now, when you come here, you see that everything is right here as well, which is good. I'm just going to probably move this one a bit to this side more. And then when I come here, now I have expenses name just as we had in the design. Awesome. Now, next thing is this one, obviously, right? So I'm going to change this. I'm going to take this one out. But first, Control T again and put it back. V and then here. Now I'm going to go back to Figma, check out how much pixel for this. This one was 16 pixel and then complete black, right? So this will be 16 and this will be black. Awesome. So I'm just going to delete this one out and then have this one right here. Place it here. I'm going to leave this cursor. I'm going to leave this icon here like that for now. That is settled. Next is, you can see it's still looking a bit, let me, okay. Next is this one. I'm going to clean it off and Control T, or better still, I would come here. I'll come here, pick this one that I created here back, and then go to expenses and paste right here, and then move it with shift so that it doesn't move anyhow. Just put shift there, and then I'll change this to expenses. Save time, and then I'll delete this one. I have that. Well, if you have used After Effects before, you know that, man, it's pretty much about patience. You really need to be patient and just get things done. Somebody's asking question. Okay, who? Avi. I will just continue from here, but I can hear you. Please, you can go ahead.
Okay, I was going to ask if I prototype something in Figma, would it also um, take effect here,
If you
or will
prototype
it be
something
flat?
in Figma, no, it won't. It won't take effect. It just takes only the layout. It won't take any
That's
effect. Yeah, yeah. So the thing is, the one thing about using After Effects is actually, like I said, is just to have like an advanced. Let me show you something. Let's go to Dribble. Most of this, most of this stuff you see. Um, uh-huh. This for example. So some of these things you see here are what you can use After Effects to do. Can you see that? Can you see
Mm.
this?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can see that, right? So in most cases, if you see maybe like 3D also involved, that means the person went further to use tools like Blender or Maya, depending on what they're trying to do. But these advanced, like you see the interaction, you see the button. We're going to be talking. I'm going to show you guys how to create those buttons and stuff like that. But I don't think we can do it in this class really, right? But all of these interactions you see here, where you see different movements of the of the app, it was obviously not done in Figma. Obviously not done in Figma. This one, for example, too, same thing. It wasn't done in Figma. This is not interactive components. Obviously, there are some of these things that interactive components can actually do on Figma, but when it gets to an advanced level like this, where you're seeing such animations and stuff like this, After Effects or some of those motion graphics tools is what was used in creating them.
All right. Thank you, Afi.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool. Now we were here. Okay, I think we're done with the buttons, and then we have this one settled already. What else? We have this one. Let's work with this. So this is $100. $100. Ooh, just gonna break this one. Now I'm gonna delete the layer from this one. Okay, now you can see, like I mentioned before, there are some of them which, of course, they are not like. So I'm going to delete that one. Now the one that came with it was a complete text, so I didn't need to do any changes at all, right? I don't know if you guys saw it. So I just deleted the one I created just now, but you can see that it's a text because it's showing T here. So some of them are editable, so I don't need to actually create anything at all for them. So in this case, all I just need to do is just to balance it properly in the middle so that it shows well here. So just delete it. Yeah, so we have this, and then finally this one is also going to be a text. I'm not sure if I changed this one to this one to outline. So I'm just going to create this one, next steps, next, obviously white, and put it right here. I think this one was bold. We used bold for this one. Or was it medium? Yes, bold. So I'm going to change this one to bold, and then I can delete this layer out. So next. Cool. Yeah, so right here we have everything settled. Now, are we ready? I think we can work with this one now. We can work with this. You guys stay with me?
Yeah, with you, bro.
All right, cool. Now let's animate
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
So obviously, let's assume this is the dashboard, right? This is the dashboard for the app. It means that for me, what I would think is I don't want anything to show here. I want all of this stuff to come in like very, very, mild, like the button would just transition maybe from the top to bottom, or from the left hand side inside. The expenses will come at the same time. Then we can have this wasn't the cursor. We can have the cursor right here, just you know blinking like a cursor as it should be, right? And then we can have the expenses just right there. And another thing is we can have the amount to subtly come in, followed by this card, followed by this card, and then finally next button, right? So now that's the concept we want to work with. Now, how do I start first? I'm going to start with the button. So it means that this button here, they are all pre-composed already. So I don't need to do so much unless I want to do something else. So what I can do is I can just rename this pre-composed component here. I can come here and click rename, and I'll just call that top button, right? Top button. And then next is this cursor, right? So if I double click and I'll trace where it is right here. Okay, so I have it right here. Now I can change this to cursor. I rename it and change it to cursor. Mind you, these are some of the things that you can do on Figma already. And when they come in here, you will just have it. You wouldn't need to be renaming them from After Effects, right? So let's start with animating this one, right? So I want these buttons to just come down, right? Now, if the thing about it is that for the first few period where you want to start animating, you probably need to have all of the components inside layout so that you can know exactly where they are. Another thing you also want to do, most times I have like a jotter where I put the time frame, like where it is now and where I want it to be, or where I want to position it. It depends on what I want to do. So I usually put the time frame so that when I want to kind of like when I'm creating the keyframing, right, I can put the initial time frame that was there. For example, if for example I want to animate this to come back to this point, right? It means that it has to be out first. It needs to be out first, right? Sorry. I'll come here and then I will take this one out, right? It needs to be out first. It means nothing is going to be there. But then if I do not record at what keyframe was it, or what time frame was it when I pushed it to the top, I'll probably just randomly put it anywhere when I'm animating it to come down. So it means that if I'm bringing it down, I'm probably just going to be putting something random based on my idea. And that is usually not really cool, because it means that in some cases, you might not have like some discrepancies with the numbers. And I'm going to show you like where you're going to record that. So I'm just going to undo this and have it there. Now let's start with these buttons. Now this button already have a position, right? So all I need to do is press P. When I press P, it shows me the position. Now, if you come in here, uh, I'm not sure if you guys can really see this part now, but let me see if I can get back to this. Okay. Now, if you come in here, guys, you can see that this top button has, when I press P, this top button has a position. Now, this position is for from left to right. So if I do it like this, it means to go left, right. And this one is for top to bottom, of course. So top to bottom. Now, since I am working with, I want to animate it such that it comes from top to bottom. It means this is the main thing for me. This particular numbers is the main thing for me. That is what I want to have, right? Now, what I'll do is, like I said, I have a jotter where I can put a keyframe, right? You can have like any jotter, or it could be a paper, but it's best to just have something where you can record it. Or if you're using your system, you could use your note. So what I do, even if you're using prototype, for example, what I do is I just copy this. So I can copy this one. Maybe I could just uh, open my notes or my sticky notes, depends on which one I want to use. Now I have this and I can create another new one, right? And what happens is, now that I know it is top to bottom, and this is the only thing that concerns me that I want, I will just copy this one right here, Control C, go to my sticky notes, and I will put top, right? And just copy it. Now you don't need to go in detail. You don't need to pull up, because most times you might not need all this anymore, right? But it's very good to have all this recorded so that you can work with them. Now, this one, it means that you've already recorded the original position with respect to like the vertical position of where this particular button is, right? And that is 64.5, and you got it from here, right? Now, since I've gotten that, what I need to do is I can put this in anywhere, right? I can put it at the top. I can just move it to the top right here, right? And all I need to do is to create an animation for this. So taking this to the top, right? I'm going to open this. Since I already have position, now I have to take this one to the top first. I'll take it to the top here, ensure that it is not on the space. And then when I have that, I'm going to click on this particular place, which is just basically when you click on this place, it means like you're basically stamping where you want it to start from, right? And where you expect it to go to. So it's more like a start point and a finish point, right? So where do you want the animation to start from, and where do you want it to end, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm just pinning it down. So if I click on this one, I click on position and pin it down, I can now decide to move this keyframe. Now, this is your time indicator. The time indicator basically just it's something that ticks every 1 second, like every one frame. So it just basically goes between each frames, right? And then for each of those frames is visualizing, is showing to the user what that time indicator or where that time indicator is. So it is this time indicator you use in basically understanding what time you want something to begin and what time you want it to end. So I'm going to start first with like from here. Now, this is this is start point. I can put it on to 45 frames here. And then when I put it on 45 frames, I will now copy. Now, if I remember it, I could just type it in there. If I remember the figure, which is 64.5, I could type it in there, or I could go to my sticky notes and just copy back again and put it at, and then hit it. Now, by the time I come back here and I play it, this is what I'm going to have. Right? That's what I'm going to have. Can you guys see me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. But the thing is, it's a bit too rigid. Like, I mean, if I see an application, and that's the reason why I said this is more of like an advanced prototyping or an advanced UX interaction, right? The thing about it is that it's so rigid. I mean, if I leave it like this, it means it's just going to fall down, and it's a bit boring, right? I want to have some responses, because one key thing that you need to know about, like one of the basics of motion, right, is basically trigger and responses, like what initiates something and what was the response of that thing. So you want to put some kind of like feel to it, and that's what brings about the realism when you are creating interactions, especially on products like this. Now, for me to do this, I do not want to I do not want to just put it on that exact position where it was supposed to be, which is 64.5. It will be too, like I said, just boring, right? So I can delete that keyframe that I have in there. And then rather than just putting it on that 64.5, I can bump it a little bit higher. So if, for example, the keyframe that it was supposed to be was 64.5, I can decide to say, okay, let me add 10 more or 5 more to this. So I could probably just use maybe like 70 or 75. So I could do, when it gets to this point, I can now put this position to be like 70, right? Enter. But that's not the position it's supposed to be, right? But watch what I'm trying to do. Now, when I put this at 70, I will move it another step forward, and then I can put this to be 60. Now, recall, 60 is also not the position where it initially was, right? It's just more like bringing this bounce feel, like this um, subtle bounce feel, where it feels like, okay, it jumped, it it comes down, and then it has another reaction. I mean, there's Newton's law of motion says to every action there's always an equal and opposite reaction. A ball does not literally just fall on the floor and just stop like that, because it has an elastic property that makes it to bounce and then relax eventually. That's what I'm trying to do here. So I'm going to put this one maybe at 60, and then I'm going to put enter. Then next thing, I'm going to bump it again to the right position, which is now 64.5. And that's the right position it's supposed to be. Now, there are several things that you can do, please. I mean, you can get creative with a lot of things. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be this. There's several other stuff that you can do to make it like really fun. But this is just an idea to make you know that when you're getting creative with things like this, you want to make it so real. You want to make it like real and subtle with respect to the interactions. Whereby when someone, the thing about it, about animations and motion that I've come to realize is that people don't really know the time and effort you put into getting that stuff created. But when you ensure that every detail that you're putting on your motion is it's there, that's what makes it really really unique, right? So, and that's what we're trying to do now. When I'm done with this, I would go back and watch how this is going to look like, right? I don't know if you saw that, but this is what you'd see. Now you can see that there's this bounce right there. Awesome. Now the thing is a bit too slow. So what do I need to do? I can bring this one to this point here. I can bring it here and then copy all of this, highlight all of these keyframes, and then shift it back a little bit more. Maybe bring this one and shift it back here a little more. And lastly, bring this one here. Now, this is going to be a bit faster. Next thing I want to do, there's I mean, even in Figma, I'm sure you must have come across stuff like easy ease, easy that, easing in, and all of that. Like when you go to prototype, for example, if you want to prototype this stuff, right, you can see that um, you can basically prototype this, put this one here, and then by the time you maybe put like a smart animate or maybe on tap, yeah, on tap, and then this navigates to this one. You can put a smart animate here, and then you see something called easy out. You see different options. So there's ease in, ease out, ease in and out, ease in back. What these are I would say these are prepared curve lines of your responses that makes it quite easy. So if you don't necessarily need to use a graph to make it cleaner, to make the motion cleaner. So all of these are pre-installed inside almost all motion graphics softwares, where if you click on them or you use them, they have a special effect that they do. So they help to really refine the graph. So most of this, like this initial one that we use here, is just a straight line graph. If, for example, I copy all of this now and I go to this graph, you will see that you can see the graph here is just straight, like all straight line graph, right? All of them are straight line graph, but that's not what we want, right? So one of the key things to make this thing smooth, to make the graph smooth and to make your animation and your motion to look a little bit much more cleaner, then you now begin to use things like ease in, ease out, easy in and out, and all of that. So for us to do that, what I need to do is copy this. Now I can either use the shortcut, which is function F9 or shift function F9. But another way to get access to this is just right click, and then you can see from here keyframe assistant, right? Now when you see your keyframe assistant in here, when you come here, you can see is F9, is in, shift F9, and then this one is control shift F9. So if I want to create like some smooth movement, I usually like using ease in, right? Which is this one. Now, when I have this one and I go back to the graph, you would see here now that everything is much more cleaner, right? Like everything is more curvy. You don't have like the sharp edges and all of that. That just makes it look all rigid. And with that, if I come here back, there's usually a difference. So this is what we have. Now, I don't know if you see that. So you can see how it comes in, and then you can see that the the response it has, that final response it has, is a bit more cleaner. So I mean, you can decide to make this one, you can push this one further like this and push this one further to make it smooth, and that's what we have. So with this, we've just successfully done our first interaction. Any questions on this, please?
Hello, Clement. I noticed this is not a question, but I noticed the what we're trying to achieve
Yeah.
is being done by Jitter.
It's done by what?
Jitter.
Um,
Jita is a motion.
motion.
It's also a plugin on, yeah, motion software plugin
Yes, the reason.
on
Yes,
Figma.
the reason why I'm not using any of those right now is because obviously, of course, those are simple. But the truth about these things is, if you start your journey like that and you just start using like maybe a plugin like Jita, for example, you'd one key thing is that you would lose the basics of actually knowing what these things are used for in the first place, right?
Yeah, I
So
agree.
it
I
yeah,
agree.
so it's best to actually at least know like the basics. Like if you just go straight to Jita, you might not even know that, oh, there's something like a graph that you can actually still play with. Now all these graphs you can actually play with a lot of things in here, but it's best to just know some of all these things before you now move into using plugins like that. That's why I'm doing this right now.
Thanks.
Awesome. So I guess that's one of our first animation. Another thing we can do is this button. So now I want this interaction to happen such that when this one is coming down, this one is also going up, right? So I can definitely name this one. I can name this to be button. Cool. And then same thing. Now um, what I can do here is in most cases I can actually just copy everything that I have here and just paste it here. But that would mean that because they are obviously because they are in different position, it means that I need to work on some of the keyframe in here so that it affects the one that is at the bottom. Because if I copy this everything here for the position and put paste here, it means that this button is going to jump to the top right here because I'm using the keyframing for this one for this. Now in most cases, let me just create almost same thing. So right here, I will come to this last part, and what I can do is, of course, P. Um, I need this to be at the bottom, which is right here. This is fine, and then I can start my animation from here, and then I can put it. I can use the same positioning. Then when this one is coming here, by the way, sorry, I didn't get the position for this. So the position for this is obviously 823. I'll just copy that, and then Control Z back. Now when I pin it right here, I can come here to this point, and then I would bump it. Now this one is 823, so I could use 850. I could use 850 here, and then come here. I would go back to say 800, and finally I'll get to this point and use this. Now I can copy, highlight each of these ones, and then I would change this to easy in, right? Now, obviously I don't, it's possible. Now, if I do this, two of them are going to come in at the same time. Now watch this. So what we have now would be like this. Something is going on there. No, something is going on there. So something went wrong there. Now we see from here, this is, okay. Now this 850 back to 800. Oh no, something. So look at the challenge here. So you
I
can
see what you're
see,
saying.
yeah, okay, see the challenge here. Now we have in this place, this it bumped to 850, and then it moved down to 800, and then back to 820, 823. So this is one of the places where the issue here is. So I can come back here. Now when it comes to this point here, this is supposed to be 850, and then this is supposed to go down
I
to
thought you were supposed to send it
down.
higher. No, higher before it
Oh no
comes
no
down.
no. It's supposed to go. Yes, it's going higher actually. So the initial position is 823, right? Now I made it
Yeah,
go
so
higher with 850.
yeah, so it should go to 800 before 850, then 825. I did it the other way around.
Just a minute. Okay, let me see. Now we have this one. So this okay, I get you. So this one should go higher, a bit more higher like this. That's not too much. So we're using 810 here, and then it goes down back a bit, and then finally it goes to 23, which is this position. Let's see that. This one changes back to okay. All right, cool. This works for now, right? But I do not want. I actually don't want it to. I don't want both of them to come at the same time, right? So what I can do is I can change this one. I can move this a step backward, so that the button from the top will come down first, and then followed by the button here. I actually even want the button to come in when all of these have animated in already. So this is what we're going to have, something like this. Okay, now we have that. Now I'm just going to do a quick one. This one, I'm just going to make it slide, right? But not just slide. So I'm going to use the anchor tool and shift this anchor point to somewhere here. Now the reason why I want to do it that way is because I want it to slide, but at the same time it bends a bit, right? So that's one thing about motion. You have to like play around a whole lot of things, right? So now the position for this itself is, so when I press P, the position for it, because I'm going to be moving left and right. So it means I'm going to take the left and right position. So when I copy this one, I'll just put it on my sticky note first. And I have 391. And back here, I can move this to here. And then I place in my keyframe to start from here. And then it moves down to here. So what I want to do is I want to move it to somewhere here. Let's not go too far. Maybe somewhere here. And while it gets there, I bring it back to somewhere here. And then lastly, I put it in its position, copy and paste the right position. But I also want to put in some feel of rotation, right? So let's say I put in rotation. Rotation is arrow. Now I put a keyframe here as well. And let me start it from here as well. So I can start the rotation from here. So I can put it to be somewhere here. And while it's moving, it goes this way, and then while it comes back this way, and then finally goes back to it where it was before. And how easy is this? Are you guys still following me? I know this might be
Yeah,
Yes.
confusing.
yeah, it's actually nice.
How did I hope you guys are not lost now.
Oh boy, after I felt no easy.
No, it's not. It's not, but it's
Oh,
fun.
like cool, like cool.
I don't run tire for this program.
Ah,
No, it's actually easy. You
hmm.
just need patience, right? You basically just have to be there. You have to be really patient with it, right? That's the thing. And you have to play around a lot of things. Like for example, I mean that rotation is something, it will make sense now when I'm doing it, but when I play it, that's when you now eventually see it. So let's play it now and see. So this is what we'll have. Okay. Now you can see it's kind of too, but so what I can do, I can spread it out a bit more. I can spread the rotation a bit more so that it's a bit more uh flexible. So we have something like this, right? Obviously, this is not necessary, right? The way it is now is not necessary for like a real-time product. But I'm just giving you like different ideas of what you can actually do with different properties on After Effects. Now, one key thing that I want to also show you right now is putting a blur effect. Now, for every movement, there's always like a motion, like there's a motion effect to it. One key thing that you can do to like really make this even much more interesting is adding like a blur effect. And to do that, what you just need to do is just to enable this motion blur here, right? So if I want to do this, all I need to do is to come to this point here, and this is for the button. No, sorry, this is for the button here, and all I need to do is just enable it. I can put in can you guys see me?
Yeah, we can see you.
Okay, so I can come in here with the frame and then put in just putting motion blur into this, right? Now these are key way, these are stuff you can do to actually just make it look much more make it look interesting, right? It makes it look more interesting, and when it's moving you have that motion blur effect also coming along with it as well. Now this is one thing. Now if you notice, the screen is almost empty, right? There's nothing there anymore, right? Everything is just empty right now. But by the time you now play the motion, you now see that everything comes in into play. I think the rotation is not like really cool, but what do you guys think? Do you think we should leave it?
Yeah, I think we can leave it.
I think it's nice.
Okay, great. All right, so we have that, and then lastly, we can just play with this one. Now, there are other ways we can play with this one, but I just want to do like going out, coming in. So I'm going to find the position of this one. Now, P, obviously I have that, and I'm moving left and right, so I'm going to copy it, which is 205. I'm just going to copy that, and then I would move this one to somewhere here, right? And then I will start my keyframing from here, right? So I'll keyframe it here, move it a bit more, and then bump it to this point. And then I want it to come back again, and then finally balances itself here. So here, I'll just easy ease on that. And then finally, we have an animated screen. Now watch this. So that's basically something you can play with. Now, another beautiful thing about this is that I can copy all of them. I can highlight all of them, pre-compose it. I can just pre-compose it here, and I'll just make all frames. Just name it all frames. And when I do that, when I duplicate this one here, I can do a reverse of it. So I can come here, do a reverse. I come to time. So here I right click, come to time here, and then what I will do is come here to do time reverse layer, which is you can still get it from Control Alt Arrow. So when I click on time reverse layer, I will have a duplicate of what I did before, but in this case, I am doing a reverse, so it's coming back to the empty screen, right, by itself. So one way to do this is I would reduce this one to this point, and reduce this reduce this one from here, from this point to this point, and then I'll play it to this point where I see that it has ended, which is in this case here. Yeah, so it ended here, so I can make it wait for a while, and after a while I would bring this I'll bring this one. Now this one is on this point here, so I can bring this one here until I see that it starts playing, right? So it's playing from here, right? So I can bring it from here, right? And then I can do Control Shift D. When I do Control Shift D, I can just delete off this part. I don't need that part. So what we'll finally have, I will put my keyframe and the start point from here. So what we can finally have is something like this. Yeah. So
Nice.
awesome. This is basically one way to keyframe, but don't forget, guys. The main point here is to use AUX. Like AUX is one of like the one very key tool that you can use on Figma that would help to imagine having like several web application designed, and you want to animate all of them. You don't necessarily need to kind of like create them all over again in either Illustrator or After Effects. You can just export all of those files directly into After Effects, and basically you can start doing your animations straight from After Effects. Awesome. So, um, open for one last questions, and guess we'll call it a day.
Hi, Codemathics.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess the question I wanted to ask seems technical.
Hmm.
Yeah, so my question is in two phases, and the first phase is actually sometimes when I try complete my, especially for illustrations and co. So when I try complete my motion for illustration. On the process of bringing it from let's say from .json now into Figma, so I used to use Lottie file. So I'm just
Mm,
talking based on my experience on Lottie. And sometimes I always try to like, okay, my file automatically backs up on my Lottie account. So whenever I launch the Lottie plugin on Figma, so I get
mm,
access to illustrations that I've animated. So if I
mhm.
pick in any of it, and yeah, they give option of converting them to GIF. So if I try pick the GIF option, at some point my design actually pixelates. My illustration pick the motion part, the motion design
Oh,
pixelates.
mm, mm. Yeah. Are you? Is that the question?
Yeah, that is the first one.
So if I get you right, what you're talking about is if you are using an animation from Lottie files. Now, when you export it in GIF, right, and you go use it inside Figma, it's
Yes.
it's pixelated, right?
Yes, it pixelates.
Ideally, yes, it will pixelate because the truth is it's a GIF, right? It's a GIF, and GIF, I wouldn't even recommend using GIF when you are kind of like creating a prototype, and that's the reason why I am always very. In fact, when I even started this call, one of the things I said was always look out to use your JSON files or your Lottie files in JSON. Now, let me show you something. So if you go to Lottie files, actually, go on Lottie files. Um, okay, so if you go on Lottie files and let's check out and then random design we can use. Let's say token. Let's do token, which is usually an animated animations, right? So let's say we want to use this. It is always best you may not be able to show this on your Figma design directly, but what you can do, you can use like files like After Effects, for example, in this case, to show things like this. So you could download the JSON files, or you could do a GIF just to show your stakeholders from Figma that this is how you expect the animation to work. But then when you are
Okay.
now exporting it to like maybe like an engineering team, the key thing you want to
Mhm.
give to them, the key thing you want to give to them is your Lottie JSON, which is this file that you see here. So you download
Okay.
this Lottie JSON. You see this stuff here. So this is what you download to them. So even if you create it, for example, I can this thing that we created now, we can it's not like perfect, but when you are done, right, you can actually send this as a JSON file. Now with a plugin, Lottify has a plugin. You can send it as a JSON file to Lottie files, and then the animation will be as it is, right? So it's the same thing that the way you see it here, that's the same way you see it in this case. So if you download this as a Lottie file, it will export a file for you, which is you can see token.json. Now you can export this particular file and give it to your engineering team. The way that animation is here, that's how your engineering team is also going to have it when they are implementing it in the app.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
it's also going to be editable. So they can change the color, they can change the text, they can change whatever it is on it as long as you give them the JSON file. So for the GIF, what the GIF does is almost like it's rasterizing your JSON file, or it's rasterizing your illustration to an animated small bit. So it is going to be pixelated. It's pixelated because it's now converted into a pixel format and not an illustrative file anymore.
Okay, thank you. Thank you on that. So the
Sure.
second question I have is, in some cases there are some websites and there are some websites, I think mobile apps too does that. So
Hmm.
the developers for the loading option, where they actually give some sort of low fidelity wireframe, just like boxes of how the website looks like. So how do
Hmm.
they go about that? Do they do that through through After Effect also? So
Sorry,
let's say
come
we
again the question.
actually made that in this design now. So let's say
Yeah.
in this current design that we finished on this call now, we actually use a low fidelity design for this, just the boxes
Hmm.
for
Yeah, yeah,
representation
yeah,
of icons and co. So let's
yes.
say if we are to, in this case, where
Hmm.
developers need to use that before the real screen displays, just like a loading notification for users to tell them there are contents loading on this page. But yeah, they should just hold on
Okay, you
to the
mean the
data syncs.
skeletal, like you mean like skeleton display, like skeleton display design.
Yeah.
Definitely, skeleton display can also be done with After Effects for sure. You can actually do that with After Effects. So if you create like a skeleton display or a mirror display of your app, basically to just let users know the how the interface of your or the how the interface of your app is before it loads. Maybe they have like an internet issue or any of those challenges, and then it's taking time to load, right? You can create that
Yeah.
skeletal display of it, export it into After
JC.
Effects through AEUX, and then you can do all these animation that you're talking about. So creating that, that loader where it's like the light is just coming
Yeah,
across,
yeah,
you can
yeah,
actually
yeah,
create all
yeah,
this. So maybe
yeah.
we can do it in one of our next session. We can do something like that in one of our next session, and then you can see how it is. But definitely you can do that. But the thing is that something like that is also a typical example of a JSON file that you see in the likes of like this Lottified, for example.
Let's see.
So you can actually, so the thing is, most times how I've worked with like some like engineering team is that when I am done doing the design in After Effects, I would export it into Lottie files, and then Lottie files will create different versions for me depending on what I uploaded, right? And then I can have a JSON file. Now this JSON file is what I will now send to engineering team, and then we implement it. So it's the same thing for that skeletal display. When you are done doing
Okay.
it, animating it, you export it, get the Lottie file link. You can sometimes send the Lottie file link to them, and then immediately when you get that file, they can actually take it from there.
All right. Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome. Oh, great. All right, guys. Any more question? Wow, Avi. Okay, go ahead.
I think I'm not quite sure. I'm familiar with After Effects already, but I'm
Mhm.
just keeping my fingers crossed that maybe you tell me that it's possible for us to convert our
What? What's that?
animation to JSON, or maybe we can probably perform click action because that's what I've been keeping my fingers crossed.
Like if it's possible to convert your animations to JSON file.
Yeah, more like
Is that the
code,
question?
not necessarily.
That's basically what I just explained with that's why Lottified is actually quite very powerful. Like Lottified is actually powerful. You can convert your animations itself, the file of your animation, you can convert it into Lottie files. And that Lottie files, the thing Lottie, right? It's let me show you guys something. So meaning
Okay, what you're trying to
so let
show, let me just
that
rephrase. I was asking if After Effects file, like, is it possible to convert the After Effects? Is
yeah.
it a file type we need to save as to be able to have it as code? Is that what Lottify does?
Yeah, that's for me. That I mean, that's what I do with all Lottifiers. Lottifiers is one of the platforms that I use in converting those illustrations or those animations um into lotties, right? So when I'm done with creating it on After Effects, I can now upload it on Lottifiers, and then Lottifiers will generate a link or a JSON file of it, and it's that JSON file. All of these animations you see, they were most of them that you see here, they were all created with animation tools like After Effects, right? And then when you now upload it into Lottifiers, that's when it converts it into different versions for you, which involves JSON files as well. You can only get, for example, look at for example, I don't know if you see this one, download AEP. Can you see this? AP is
Yeah, yeah.
After Effects project, right? After Effects
After
project. So
Effects.
you can download it as After Effects. You can download it as it when you upload. Sorry, you can upload it as After Effects file. You can upload it as After Effects file, but you want to convert it to JSON files. And in most cases, when you want to use it as that JSON file, is obviously when you want to use it, when you want to work with it with an engineering team, that you want to give them the code base for that animation, and let them use it in their implementation. So that's basically one basic thing, one of the major things that Lottifiers also do. But I think in our next session, we can actually talk more about these things, how to upload it on Lottie files and then
Awesome.
create a JSON out of it and all of that. I think we can actually we can even now go deep into doing more of that. Okay. Any more question before we call it a day?
Yeah, just
We've spent
just
about
ask
2 hours on
a
this call.
question, just a minute. The Yeah, I wanted
Okay.
to know those the file you the After Effect file. Is it possible to change
Hmm.
the color of the those shapes on the After Effects, or you can no longer change the colors?
Oh, you can change them. Okay, good question.
Okay.
You can actually change them really, if you want to. But in this case, because they are already more like an exported file, and usually it's the text that are sometimes more like like the texts are changeable, like something the same, something like what we did for the text. I told you some of them, if you convert the text into, say, an outline, right? You obviously cannot make changes to the text directly from After Effects. But if it's just normal text and you have the text pre-installed in your system, right, in your After Effects file, you definitely be able to change it. In this case, this is the frame, right? Now it's already showing field here, right? You can see that you can. I don't know if you saw that, but this is what came with it. If you come to this field right here, you can see that that's the color. You can decide to now say, okay, I want to change it to blue. And if you go there, this changes to blue. If you come back to this place, you see that this has changed to blue as well. Same thing with this one. This. If I want to change it to, let's say red, which is a very visual color, right? If I come here, it changes back to red. So yes, you can actually make the changes of the solid like instantly.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Great, great, great. Wow, I can't believe uh let me speak truth is still on this call. Wow, that's interesting. All right, guys. All right. I guess that's the
Listening to
last
truth.
question. But feel free, but feel free to please ask more of the questions in the community. If you have like some stuff that you probably want to get more idea on, feel free to share it on the community, and I'll be able to throw more light in there. And hopefully, I would have enough time to be sending you guys resources on our next before our next call. In fact, today's call, I actually just prepared for it like yesterday. I did the design last week, but yesterday was the time I was able to even use in creating that other art video and prepare for this particular class. So hopefully, as I begin to really clear my schedule, I would have like more time to guide, kind of like share resources, share more information on our next classes or our next sessions before we even get to do them. I saw someone's hand up a few minutes ago. Yeah, Vic.
I was saying, are you going to share the links to the AEX on the call or Twitter or where?
No, I'll
Or
I'll share it. I'll share it. I'll definitely share it on the channel. I'll share it on Discord channel. I'll also share it on Twitter. But I think the channel will be where I'll share it immediately. We're done with this call.
oh, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Okay, guys, this is where we call it a day. I hope you guys are able to learn a couple of fun stuff, and happy that you guys were, able to join the call. So, looking forward to the next session. We're going to be talking deep diving into more information about like animation. We'll actually do like a real clean design, and would animate each of those designs. We'll probably, get to do a couple of those kind of like some of this stuff that you see on Dribble, where you see people creating animations for their product and all of that. We'll do a couple of all this stuff, and you just get more idea on how most of all these things are be done. But the goal for this call was to definitely make you understand how powerful AEUX is with respect to like animating your interactions, and try as much as possible to use it in your design. It's quite straightforward. It's clean, and like I told you, it's not just for only products. You can actually create a logo on Figma if you are so good with like Figma to that extent. You can create a logo on Figma, and then you can just use AEUX to export that file into After Effects to go do an animation. So you wouldn't need to do so many creating in After Effects and in Illustrator and just so many back and forth, right? So there's so many things you can do with AEUX on Figma, and this is just one of it, or one of the smallest things you can do. So looking forward to next session, and cheers, guys.
One quick feedback, Chief.
Sure, sure.
Yeah. So one of the things we got throughout the call was the screen size. Your screen size. We couldn't
Wow.
see some of it. Yeah. So maybe in the
Could you
next.
guys share me? Can you share me a screenshot of how you see it on your screen? Because I mean, I definitely need to look into that.
Uh,
Maybe I
uh,
should share my screen again, and then you can share me screenshots on in the channel so that I can know
yeah.
how it looks. Because
But
it
there
look
were times you zoomed in on Figma and
on Figma.
on
Yeah,
those times you zoomed into yeah, we
yeah,
could see it better when you zoom in. But
yeah.
after that,
Okay, was it just on Figma, or were you able to see it on After Effects?
after
Like,
effects, when you increase this, we could see the bottom left. We could see some of them, but still
okay,
not.
okay, okay. I guess in next sessions we're probably just
Yeah.
gonna be maintaining this particular size, something like this. You can see it now, right? Like this, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. You can see it.
Okay, good feedback. Good feedback. So I'm going to look into that. This is another size. Let me see if this is better. Okay, this is another size. So this is bigger.
This is way better.
Okay, cool, cool, cool.
For
That's fine.
the Adobe After Effects. Yeah.
All right,
Then
cool.
for Figma, just maybe try zooming in on your screen.
Yeah,
So that's, yeah. Thank you.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. That's fine. Thank you for the feedback. This is really good. So I'm going to look into that. With respect to the screen size. My screen is quite like 4K wide, so a lot of things are kind of like really small. But good feedback. Thanks for that. Okay. So, guys, thank you very much, and do
Thank
have
you.
a lovely day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Uh,